Hi, everyone, and welcome to Friday Night Live. I'm your host, Crystal Fry, a woman's best friend. I want to welcome everyone who is joining the broadcast tonight. We are broadcasting both on Facebook and on YouTube, so I welcome everyone in tonight. Tonight, we are going to be talking about learning to let go of your past. And this is a topic that I feel like a lot of us have struggled with at some point in time. Maybe some of us are still struggling with learning how to really let go of our past. And so I think tonight is going to be kind of powerful for a lot of different people because it is something that we often struggle with. How do we let go of tragedy? How do we let go of things that have hurt us and have really had an impact on creating the person that we are now? How do we let go of those things so that we can move forward, so that we can walk into our future, so that we can have a happy present? Holding on to your past not only robs you of your future, but it steals your present from you as well. So that's what we're talking about tonight. So for those of you who are joining live and for those of you who are watching in the replay, welcome in on Facebook. Again, go ahead and hit that notification button so you know when we go live. Same for you folks over on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell so that you've got a notice when we go live and when we post things here. And welcome in. So we're going to go ahead and get started talking about learning to let go of your past. And I want to talk to you about the impact that holding on to your past has on you. Mentally, physically, emotionally. Those are our three areas, right? The three things that really kind of make up our core. So these things, when you're holding on to your past, how does that affect you mentally? Well, one, you're kind of stuck back there. You're stuck thinking about it. You're replaying whatever that scenario is over and over again. You can't get rid of it. That clouds your current judgment. That clouds your present judgment. It blocks you from being able to see your future clearly without that past hurt or that pain clouding what you can see. So you don't have clear vision. It impacts your decision-making skills in the present because you are still being impacted by that emotional hurt, by that emotional trauma. And so you're not able to see where it is that you're going. So in another respect from the mental side of it, how holding on to your past impacts you mentally, it makes you make poor decisions. And when I say that, I want you to think about that from the standpoint of, think about it from a relationship aspect. If you have been in a difficult relationship, maybe it was good and then it went bad, and you have, had that emotional trauma, and now you are trying to figure out how you move forward. Well, one of the issues that a lot of people face coming out of an emotionally traumatic relationship is they have trust issues now. And rightfully so. You've been hurt, and that takes your judgment of all people and makes you compare them to that person who hurt you. And quite frankly, that's not fair to you, and that's not fair to anyone that you may get into a relationship next, right? That could even prevent you from getting into another relationship. So as we're talking about learning to let go of your past tonight, I want you to take that into consideration, that holding on to your past not only impacts you mentally and emotionally, but holding on to your past actually impacts you physically as well. When you are continuing to hold on to traumatic experiences, when you've not processed them from a mental and emotional standpoint, when you've not walked through them, that creates a stress, even if you're unaware of it. That creates a stress within you, and your mental stress actually manifests in physical ways in your body. Think about it. Have you ever been in a situation where maybe something went wrong? And we won't even use relationships. Relationships is a very easy one because we expose ourselves to other people when we're in relationships. We open ourselves up. And anytime you're opening yourself up, you run the risk of being vulnerable. Well, you're vulnerable and you run the risk of possibly being hurt, right? So we'll set relationships aside for a minute as we're talking about how holding on to your past can manifest physically in your body. If you have had a bad, if you've had a bad experience with a certain substance, all right, let's use alcohol. Okay, we're all adults here. Let's use alcohol for a minute. You ever had maybe you've overindulged in a particular brand, and even the thought of it makes your stomach turn? Believe it or not, that what you experienced with that particular alcohol was a traumatic experience in your body. And because you've not processed that and moved past it and released it and let it go, your stomach's going to turn every time somebody brings up the word tequila. That's just kind of the way we work. Psychologically, our bodies will manifest things that occur, that happen to us from past experiences. And it's our body's way to warn us. So in some ways, it's a good thing, but in other ways, it actually prevents us from being able to move forward. It prevents us from being able to push through, to be present, and to walk into our future. So we're talking about the impact physically, mentally, emotionally that holding on to your past has on you. So mentally, it can cloud your judgment. It can make you make some bad decisions, or maybe not some great decisions. Maybe they're not even bad decisions, but maybe it's preventing you from making a good decision, a decision that would really be in your best interest. And you're not able to do that because you're holding on to something from your past that maybe has nothing to do with the present situation, but that past hurt, that past trauma is preventing you from making a good decision for you right now. So let's move into emotionally and how holding on to your past impacts you emotionally. Relationships are an excellent place here. And toxic things, period, from your past are an excellent point on how holding on to them impacts you emotionally. If you have been in a traumatic relationship, and that doesn't necessarily have to be with a significant other, that doesn't necessarily have to be, an intimate relationship. You guys, this can be a relationship with a family member. It can be a relationship with a friend. And if your experience in that has been less than optimal, maybe that parent, maybe that sibling, maybe, that aunt, uncle, somebody that you were close to, if they treated you in such a way that it damaged you emotionally, and you don't take the time to unpack that and process it and deal with it and release it, you are not going to be in a healthy place emotionally to continue building healthy relationships. You may be in a place where you're unable to set healthy boundaries because you don't know how to, because the person that you were involved with didn't allow you to, right? So emotional scars, when we don't unpack them, when we don't process them, they impact our ability to have healthy relationships with people going forward. So, I mean, as I've been explaining this for the last few minutes about how holding on to your past impacts you mentally, emotionally, physically, it's kind of easy to see that it's not really a great thing. But I also want to caution you, because we've been talking about, toxic things, holding on to toxic things from your past, holding on to, the thing that the mean girl said in high school about you. Okay. The thing that, maybe the not so great parent said to you, the thing that the former spouse, the former significant other said to you, did to you, the situations that they put you in, the decisions that you had to make that were not great because of that. We're talking, as we're talking about those toxic things from your past, it may be pretty easy to see that it's not a good idea to hold on to it. But I want to drop a word of caution here, because there is also danger in holding on too tightly to really great things from your past. Now, I want you to stay with me on this, because at first blush, maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you. Maybe you say, well, gosh, Crystal, this was a really great thing. This was really great memory. This was really great time. I had this amazing person in my life, and they were so wonderful, and everything was so great about them. Well, if they're not in your life anymore, for whatever reason, maybe it was a really great relationship and they ended it. Sometimes that happens. Maybe there was some tragedy involved in that and they're not here anymore. Maybe they moved away, but for whatever reason, that relationship is not there anymore, but it was really, really great. So how could holding on to that be bad for you? Well, because if you're spending all of your energy thinking about how great that relationship was in the past, you are unable to see how fantastic a new relationship could be right now. You will spend your energy comparing any new person that you meet to that person who's no longer in your life. And so you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to experience joy and happiness with someone else, because you're so focused on being stuck reliving what was so great about that person who's not in your life anymore. Now, I'm not saying that you forget about them completely and you don't have, you don't carry good memories with you. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying, though, is if you are so focused on that relationship from the past, if you are so focused on that great experience, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship, but relationships are an easy example for this. But if you're holding on to that really great experience that you had, you're not allowing yourself to look forward or even to look present, to look around you right now, to experience the greatness that could be. So toxic things, removing toxic things from your past, it's pretty easy to kind of see the correlation on how that impacts you in all aspects of your life. Physically, mentally, emotionally, we can draw a pretty straight line for why you should let go of those things. But I do want to drop that word of caution about holding on too tightly, being consumed by those really great things from your past that are no longer in your life. Keep the memory, absolutely, but don't let that be your focus. So how do you let go? Right? We're talking about letting go of your past, learning to let go of your past. That is our topic for tonight. So I've talked to you a little bit about the dangers of holding on and kind of why you shouldn't. But if you are holding on, and let me be the first one to tell you, I get it. Been there, done that, held on to stuff way past its expiration date. A lot of stuff. Now you have to learn how to let go. So how do you do that? First, you've got to acknowledge it, okay? Especially if it is something that was traumatic, especially if it is something that was toxic. You have to acknowledge it. You can't hide it. You can't stuff it down. You can't bury it. I promise you, it will find its way back to the surface over and over and over again, and usually at the most inopportune times. So you have to acknowledge it. You have to shine some light on it. Don't keep it buried. Now that looks different, based on what the situation is, based on the level of trauma. You may not be able to do it by yourself. And that is perfectly okay. There is absolutely nothing wrong with getting the help that you need. Nothing at all. So you have to acknowledge it fully. You need to understand all aspects of it. Because when you have that information, when you can unpack it, you can see it for what it is. Make sure that in bad instances and those toxic instances, make sure that you put yourself in a position mentally and emotionally to forgive. And sometimes that takes a little bit of work. Sometimes that is way more difficult based on the situation or even based on the person. It's a lot harder to overcome difficult things in a relationship with someone that you were very close with. If you were in an intimate partner relationship and they were your entire world and they walked out the door, that's difficult to deal with. If it was a parent or a sibling, a family member, someone that you were very, very close with, and something turned that relationship sour, that's difficult to deal with. And it's difficult to forgive in some instances. The closer they are, sometimes the harder it is for that forgiveness because the betrayal is deeper. It feels deeper to us. So learn how to forgive. And let me just tell you this, because some of you may be thinking, there's no way, after what he or she, what they did, I can't forgive them. Let me let you in on a little secret here. The forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. Because when you spend your energy being mad, being upset, being hateful towards that person because of the thing that they did, you are robbing yourself of your own joy. They win. When you don't forgive so that you can move past it, they win. If someone has hurt you, okay, the worst possible thing that you can do is continue to replay that over and over again because they stay in your mind. You relive that over and over again. They still have control. They still have that power over you. When you learn how to forgive someone for whatever the wrongdoing was, you can release it. And that is exactly what you do through forgiveness. You release it. You move on. You say, okay, this happened. I understand it. It's not what I wanted. It was not a good thing, but it's okay. You take from that instance, from that situation, from that experience, you take the lesson, whatever you learned in that. See it as an opportunity to learn and to grow from it. You keep that lesson, but you leave the experience in the past where it belongs. It does not have a place in your present. And it absolutely cannot have a place in your future if you want to move forward. So keep the lesson, get rid of the experience. And that way you can use that lesson as you continue to move forward in your life. You'll be wiser about some things. You'll maybe look for some early warning signs. But that doesn't mean that you're continuing to replay your past. You're just understanding what to look for. So forgiveness is very important in that. And remember, it's not about them. Forgiveness is all about you. It's a way for you to release that. It's a way for you to release that hold. And don't compare, okay? Try very hard, especially when you're looking at relationships. Don't compare. The person that you're dealing with right now is not the person who hurt you in the past. Keep that in mind, okay? Especially as you are, and if you find yourself constantly comparing, that is a clue that you have not, you've not moved past what happened. And so you need to spend a little bit more time acknowledging it, unpacking it, and forgiving that situation and that person and moving on and letting go. So, that is kind of in a nutshell what I have for you tonight about learning to let go of your past. Staying stuck in your past robs you of your future, and it makes for a difficult present because you can carry those things with you. And remember, as I said, usually when we talk about letting go of our past, we're talking about letting go of toxic situations. We're talking about letting go of past hurt, past pain, past trauma. We're usually talking about instances like that. But I want to just remind you the dangers of holding on to, that really, really great thing, not as a memory, but holding on to it as a constant comparison for anything new. Oh gosh, that person was so great. I'll never find anyone else like them. Listen, if they were so great, that doesn't mean you're not going to find someone else who's even more great. But you won't be able to have that opportunity if you spend all of your time in that comparison stage. So keep the lesson, get rid of the experience, keep happy memories, absolutely, but don't let that be the defining moment of your life. Don't let that be the yardstick that you measure everything else by. Because if you're measuring all of your experiences, all of your present and future experiences by something in your past, you're doing yourself a disservice. And you're doing the people that you're in contact with now and that you would be in contact with in the future, you're doing them a disservice as well because you're not present. So be present for yourself. Be present for those that you are in relationships with. Be present for the people around you now. Okay? So that will wrap us up on our topic tonight on learning to let go of your past. If you have questions or comments, feel free to leave them here. If you want to have a deeper discussion about that, you can absolutely reach out to me. If you need help, I can help you out with some resources in that area as well. Feel free to let me know. I do want to thank everyone who jumped on and joined us live. And for those of you watching in the replay, both on Facebook and over on YouTube. So on Facebook, make sure you have your notifications set to all so that you will get a notice when we go live. And also over on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell at the top to get the notifications when we're live and when we post. And I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend. It is Friday night, and I hope we've got really good weather here coming up this weekend. So I'm looking forward to being out in the sunshine and having a little bit of relaxation time. I hope that you are as well. So until next week, when I see you again, I am Crystal Fry, a woman's best friend, teaching women to see themselves, love themselves, and transform into themselves, into the women they were created to be. Have a great night.